Welcome back to Drafting 230. Now in this lecture I plan to cover parts of Chapter 11 and 12. Now 12 is more of the photorealistic rendering. That is a fun one. I've had some students say they've become addicted to the rendering part of it. But hopefully I show you just enough here to get you rolling now. This video could turn out to be pretty lengthy. I'm hoping to keep it short. I try to keep my videos 15 minutes or less. But let's give it a try. So here we go. I've got a basic wall, okay, but it's not completely attached. Now let's see what happens. So I'm going to try to see there. My whole wall did not come up. This is one of the things I wanted to bring up that we run into in Chapter 11. So I hit escape. Let's return back to this condition, and let's join it. So I'm going to join all this. Right click, and there's no need to select everything because the rest of it is joined. So let's give it an extrude. Select, enter, and how tall do I want it? Well, let's make it 5. Okay, so let's see what happened here. Let's change it from wireframe to conceptual. All my corners are enclosed and we look good. Okay, so let's change it back. Let's keep that. Let's change back to wireframe so that we can see the rest of this. Okay, so a little problem we may have with this interior wall is once I've created this wall from this line, this wall no longer shares that line. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I hit this here. Okay, so I need to join them. Alright, so let's join them. Another way to join is to use the region. So let's region this. Oh, I can't region that. That's because it no longer shares that. So I need to bring in a line. My preferred way of joining the lines is actually with join. It seems to have fewer problems. Alright, so I'm going to click this line, click that line, there we go, there we go, there we go, and there. Okay, so it's all one line now, and instead of extrude I'll use press pull. And there we are, it works just as good. So I'm going to click right there to make the same height. Now let's change it to hidden. What do we have? Looks good. Now I'm going to go into photorealistic rendering, so I'm going to go straight into realistic. And realistic doesn't give us much to look at. As a matter of fact, it looks like shades of gray, but it's quite different. Alright, so let's create a floor for this. I'm going to go with this extrude. Whoops, sorry, I thought that was primitive. Let's go back to solid. Okay, go back to box. This corner to that corner. I'm going to make it about that thick. Okay, so right now I have a roof, but I don't want the roof. I'm going to make it a floor. So I'm going to move. I'm going to grab this corner. I'm going to put it down on this corner. Now, without messing with that UCS, okay, I've gone from putting it from the top to the bottom. Now it is going to become a floor. So I've selected this. Now notice this wall is separate, so I'll make sure I include that. Okay, and I'm going to move this, use this corner, and put it over here on top of this, and now it has become the floor. That was simple, huh? Now these are some of the things we run into Chapter 11, because as long as we have the same end result, that's fine. But some of the problems you may run into, I'm hoping I just covered. Okay, so let's talk about photorealistic render. Okay, so the first thing, make sure it's in realistic. Then come over here, right click on top of that WCS and change it to perspective. Okay, and you'll notice at this point everything went from, I'm going to right click on this, everything, the lines in your regular view, they're parallel. All lines are parallel to one another. And when we go into rendering, we change it to perspective because we need the vanishing point. So let me move this around a little bit and show you what I'm talking about. Now, the perspective view actually has a skyline, and it actually has 3 vanishing points. Okay, for it being oriented this direction, the vanishing point for these lines are running back here to a vanishing point, and likewise with these lines running back here to a vanishing point, and the same thing with the lines that are all vertical here are actually going down to a vanishing point. Okay, so let's move straight into our render tab. Let me get this back where I want it here, right in here somewhere. Okay, let's go into the tab up here. It's called render. Now up here in render, we got to make sure that our material textures are on, and then we bring up our material browser. Now if you have 2 monitors, this thing that just came up, you can actually put it on a second monitor. Okay, so let's take a look. Oh, it didn't all come up, so let's hit this again. Material textures on. Okay, give it a second. Now let's try it again. Autodesk library. Okay, there we go. If you don't see anything here, sometimes it's a matter of resetting this. Other times, right here, you click on this, you want to bring up your Autodesk library. And what this library has, let me open it up real big here for a second. It has all the materials broken down into category, what type it is, and then a name. Okay, so let's say I want a wood. I'm going to select, I clicked up here on the word category, and it put everything in alphabetical order according to category. So if I come all the way down here to, there's glass, liquid, brick. I want to make a wooden floor. Wall paint, wood. Let's go with this cherry wood. Okay, so I want to add this to my palette up here. I call it a palette. And this is basically what I just picked. But up here are where everything that you may pick out of this library are going to go here. Now basically this documents all the materials. I call it a palette. It's like a painter's palette. Okay, so I want to take this wood and I want to apply it to my floor. Okay, let's go into this and talk about this for a second. Now with this wood, I can apply it to flooring, and I can pick what's a satin varnish or a semi-gloss or a gloss. Let's go with a gloss, and then relief pattern. Let's say now relief pattern. I can change how that pattern looks a little bit if I want to. I don't want to go that far with it. We can change the tint if we wanted to, but we're going to leave it alone. We're going to call it good. Okay, so now we're going to close that. I'm simply going to, well, I guess maybe I should show this too. This over here tells you how you want to look at things. Okay, so I can look at things in a thumbnail view, okay, or I can look at things in a list view. Now the list view I like because I can put a lot more here in one place that has a lot more information. So it's just a user preference. Okay, so I'm going to drag this down and I'm going to drop it right onto the floor. Okay, see there? So that's my flooring. Now let's go in here. There it is. Got to grab it from the edge here. Okay, and let's grab. Gotta find a perfect size here. Let's grab maybe a brick or a paint or something here. Let's separate by wood. Okay, so wall paint. Let's go with this. Maybe a little bit of this navy blue. Okay, and maybe we'll go with some of this linen white. Okay. Alright, so we can change how bright that is and everything by looking at that other panel, but I want to create the interior walls. Okay, now you notice I clicked on it and it got everything. I don't want everything, so let's say I just want part of it. So I have to hold the control button down. Okay, and then I can pick which ones I want. Okay, so let's say this one. Oops, sorry. So I take my paint here, hold the control button down, and let it go right there. Okay, and I say let's spin it around, and make this one wall. And it's not selecting. Now, I have noticed in some cases that with the rendering it takes up a lot of storage space, and your computer needs to be able to handle it because there's a lot going on your graphics card. Okay, holding a control down, I just want this one and that one. Okay, so let's take a look at how this looks in a rendered view. So the little teapot, you click that, and whoops, and it brings this up. Okay, but it brought it up on my other monitor. So I'll hit it again, and it'll bring it up in this because that was the last place it was, and that's what you get. Basically, it's telling you all the information about your picture, what version it is, okay, and then what time you did it, and all kinds of other information. So I'm going to move this around a little bit. See my horizon over here? See how my light's changing? Okay, now let's try this again. And my light's going to change in there too. Okay, so but let's just say I want to change the time of day. So let's go into my sun status here. Okay, and my time of day might be a little closer to noon on September 21st. 2014. Okay, hit this, and what do I get? See, I get a little more shadows. Okay, so let's say I want to create a light. Let's say I'm not doing something during the daytime. I think I'm showing you just enough to get crazy here. Feel free to play with this. You can't really hurt anything. Create a light. So once that comes on, it says turn off your default lighting. Okay, so I'm going to put this right here. Okay, right now that light is like literally pasted inside the wall, so I need to move it around a little bit. So I'm going to move it back this way and move it over this way. My snaps are on. It wanted to snap to something, so let's get rid of the snaps. Okay, there we go. Now we'll have a little fewer problems with moving my light around. There we go. So I have a bright light going on right now. I don't exactly know where he's located. Oh, he's closer to the floor, so I gotta pick him up a little bit. Okay, so now he's a little better there. Okay, now I'll bring it back down. Okay, so let's take a look what we get. So it looks like, see that reflection on the floor here? There's no actual light bulb here. That's just showing you where the light source is coming from. Now let's say we created a table and we created a light, an actual lamp. Then you would place this in the lamp just as if you would have a lighted lamp. Okay, now with flashlight going on here, the spotlight. Now the spotlight gives us, the spotlight, you want to stick where that's going to go first and in what direction you want to point it at. So, okay, exit. Alright, so let's take a bigger look at that flashlight. Moving around. Right now that flashlight is basically pointing at the exterior wall. See that? Okay, so let's take a look at our flashlight. We open up our flashlight. We can adjust how wide of a light it is, and then the area between here and here is basically how far that is apart to fade. Okay, so notice my fade is a little less defined here. I bring it in a little bit closer, see there? Okay, so let's take a look at what we're looking at now. So hit escape, let's render. What do we got? Hey, pretty neat, huh? Okay, now we could go on and on. I could actually spend another 2 hours or so showing you some of the different tricks about the applying the lights and the material. But what fun it would it be if we didn't have something that goes actually through it and walks around it and takes a look at it. So let's take a look. I get my orbit to work here. Let's just move it around, something like this. Okay, so I need to bring in a line. It's crazy. Ooh, let's turn that ortho off. I'm picked up my spline at this point. And we're going to go right in here. and right click, enter. Okay. Now what the heck am I doing with a spline? Okay. Now with a spline, unbelievable. This is one of my favorite lines to work with. Well, when it doesn't give me a bad time. Okay, so I've just got all kinds of crazy now. Didn't go anything like I wanted it to. But let's change our view now. Sometimes we need to change our view. So let's go to a front view. Okay. What I'm trying to do is get this whole thing to come up. There we go. Sometimes it does matter what view you're in. Okay, so there we are. Yeah, maybe I ought to do something different with this. So let's go to top view to manipulate this a little better. There we go. Okay, now we'll bring this in a little bit. One more time. There it is. Okay, so now where are we at now? Okay, that'll be fun. Let's go up a little more. So we go back to custom view, we go to front view, and let's pick up the whole thing. Okay, now we'll go back to render. Let's right click in here, and camera. There we go. There's my camera. Right there, create camera. Okay, so I want a camera, and it says specify the location. So I'm going to put him. Create camera. We're going to put him. My snaps are off. I'm going to put him right here, and I'm going to point him at that. Okay. Now that's my camera. Now on my camera, look at there. I'm actually getting a view. Spin this around a little bit. You actually get a view of this guy. We're going to get a little better. Come over here to the camera view. Okay. Get a wider view. Like, whoops. Scoot him over. Back over this way. The rendering, like I said, it takes a little while. Okay, put him back over here. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Now let's take him up a little bit. And take him over. Okay, so there we go. Let's just call it that, and then take a look at what's going on in a realistic view. Okay, so the lighting's a little off. I need to work with a little bit. Might be helpful to move things up and maybe move things back a bit. Well, let's say I lost it already. Okay, so sometimes we can hit undo. Yeah, okay, let's hit this back here again. Go straight up, and then maybe straight over. Okay, so now that's a camera. This gives us a view. Okay. And the view comes in handy when you want to do different camera shots. But now if we go into, let's see, where's it at? Edit, file, go tools. Tablet. Format. Draw. Insert. View. Okay, here we go. Motion path animator. There's what I'm looking for. Sometimes it takes a little while to find it. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to create a path. Alright, so we select our path. And we're going to call that path 1 for now. Okay, and then we need a target. So our target is going to be right there. Okay. Alright. Somehow we didn't pick it. Okay, point. There we go. There we go. Put that right there. Alright. Now we're good. We have got a path, and then we've got a point. Alright. And then we can adjust how many frames. Okay. So let's click OK and see what we get. Let's do preview. It's going by pretty fast. Okay, so right now that went too fast, so let's slow it down a little bit. So close that, and we need to duration when previewing a camera. Okay, so what we need to do is maybe increase frames, and maybe we need to increase the seconds. So let's hit it again, preview, and that slowed things down. Okay, so that's enough to get you going on rendering, and enough to get you on the camera, and enough to get you actually probably a little bit beyond the scope of the book. So I hope you enjoy that. That particular chapter can get pretty addictive, so I hope you've allowed yourself plenty of time to work with it. Alright, we'll talk to you later, and I hope you've enjoyed Drafting 230.